right, welcome back, everybody. It is the Awesemo.com NHL DFS strategy show. We had a little bit of a mix-up on my end, and so that's why we're coming to you a little bit later than normal. But I get to do a show with my buddy Josh Harris, inventor of the Josh Stack, the namesake of the Josh Stack. I guess I don't know if you invented it, but you made it big, so you made it cool. How's it going, man? I haven't talked to you in quite a while besides DMs.
Yeah, we haven't been on the show together since mid-March, I don't think. So like almost 2 months. Hey, Nhl says daddy's home. What's up, son? We're doing good. I've had a good start to the playoffs. We got a 4-gamer tonight. We got to get these 4 gamers in while we can. Hopefully these series extend 7. They've been good so far. So hopefully we get 3-4 gamers for a while.
Yeah. So I think we've got a couple more. I think there's a 4-gamer tomorrow. And then I saw next week, potentially there are a couple 3 and 4 gamers should these series continue to go on. So, rooting for my teams to do well, but also rooting for as many 3 and 4 game slates as possible. So we'll see. We've got 4 games for today. Just want to make sure this is going to be maybe a little bit of a clunkier show, but I do want to make sure we hit off the top. We are sponsored by Jock Market. If you guys can see in the upper right-hand corner, there is a new promo code that just happened. Jock Market sent us over, and it is Awesemo50 for a $50 bonus on your first deposit. If you guys haven't checked out Jock Market just yet, you should. It's like fantasy sports and stocks all in one. You can buy and sell players in real time. And then like your other DFS sites, they're guaranteed payouts at the end of the night and during the game as well. So if you haven't checked it out, I think the competition over there is pretty soft. And you're getting a free $50 on your first deposit. Not many sites are doing that. So go support Jock Market. They're helping support us. They're helping keep these shows free. So you guys should help them as well. And really, it helps everyone because, you're getting a free $50. Might as well go give it a shot over there. Playoffs have been pretty good for me. I guess I've had one good night, and that, being a primarily GPP player and my 0.0001% of cash games, don't really move the needle for me. But I had one good night, and so if I can have one good night a week like that, I think I'll be pretty happy with how these have gone. How have you done? I was rambling to myself on one of the shows, maybe Tuesday or yesterday, and I feel like I've done pretty well in playoffs, and I think it's because of the matching. You get a better idea of how teams are going to match up, and you can kind of anticipate adjustments as the series go on based on where the series is at. How have you done in the playoffs in the past? You feel like you've done better or worse? Where are you at?
I've done better, probably because the playoffs are just the regular season on steroids now. Because we saw it during the regular season, they played 3-game series with these teams. And so now they're obviously just playing each other until someone advances. So we had all season to get prepared for this, unlike last season where, teams are all over the place. But with these small divisions and no traveling outside of divisions, we had, a 55-game season to get ready for this. Playoffs is a bit more magnified, so you kind of, rely. I don't want to say rely more on the studs, but you kind of know who you can punt now, and everything we did in the regular season was leading up to this. So I've carried over pretty well.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Hopefully we can keep that up. I know a bunch of subscribers had good nights last night, and if you guys are looking to join, you can always hit me up. You can hit Josh up. Our Twitter handles are below us. And we can help pick out the right package for you. If you're playing multiple sports, I say it all the time, you should be taking advantage of the Platinum package. We just had a promo actually end, so hopefully you took advantage of that. If not, still a pretty good price if you're playing multiple sports. If you're going to play NASCAR, if you're going to play PGA, if you're going to play NHL and NBA, those all add up really fast if you buy sports-specific packages. So just buy the Platinum. Do yourself a favor and hang out with us in all the different Slack chats. You get to use all the different lineup builders and such. And if you are looking to just play NBA, we do have promo code PLAYIN, which is essentially you're getting the Express Pass for 2 weeks for the price of one. So $4.95. Promo code PLAYIN is how you take advantage of that. And we got a nice super chat to start off the show. Our friend Darren Clary He says, need an in-depth analysis, explanation of the Blashill contract extension. He says, just kidding. LFG, boys. Get it tonight. Yeah, that's what we're going to try to do. Did you see that? I'm assuming you did, and have some thoughts about good old Blashill, our favorite.
I mean, I want to give Stevie Y the benefit of the doubt, but, like, I don't know what's happening here. Like, Blashill is one of the worst coaches for DFS. Maybe, you know, because the Wings were so bad and, you know, Stevie needs to rebuild them. He'll give Blashill the benefit of the doubt. Like, it's bad news for DFS players next season.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah. I mean, this guy is a total joke for DFS. Like, switches his lines up all the time, doesn't play good players together, like, loves Luke Glendening. And, yeah, it's just he's the worst, and now he's getting an extension. I don't know if he'll make it to the end of that extension unless Detroit really turns it around. But I saw some beat writers across, like, from different teams applauding the deal, like, oh, the Red Wings, they were so competitive this year, and Blashill earned it. Like, I don't know what they were watching, or if they were watching. I didn't even know what their record was, but they were absolutely awful. And I know they had some injuries, but they had Larkin for most of the season. Like, there's not really an excuse for this terrible play over the last few years for them. So whatever. Hopefully that's the last time we mention Jeff Blashill on a show. We've got 4 games. Let's talk about them. Let's start with the Caps. And the Bruins, 2.3 applied total for the Caps, 3.1 for the Bruins. Samsonov and Tuukka Rask are your goalies. This one is 2-1 for Boston, and all 3 games so far have gone into overtime. I'm going to predict this one does not go into overtime. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, but it's been a very closely contested series. I thought Boston would end up running away with this series. They are heavily favored here, but it's the same story 2 nights ago. We're not seeing much difference. Looks like Lars Eller is a game-time decision, but we've got him penciled in right now. Boston's sticking with their same lineup. I'm seeing Kuznetsov with Ovi and Oshie, Backstrom, Mantha, and Tom Wilson on the lineup builder, then Lars Eller centering Sheary and Raffle, which we've seen all series long. So what are you drawn to in this game? Is it the Boston side? Is it the Washington side? Is it neither?
I mean, if anything, it's going to be the Boston side. Like, Evgeny Kuznetsov is – it seems like they rushed him back. He tested positive for COVID a second time. He was – you know, and he's saying it was incredibly hard to get into hockey shape. He might not even be in the best shape for these games. You're going to get the Bergeron matchup, which is just brutal. Boston's at home now. It kind of takes me out of, you know, the Washington top line. If you're going to MME, I don't know if it's a 150 max today, if it's like a 95.
112.
112. I think, you know, you can have a handful of, you know, Washington 1. They're fully correlated on the power play, assuming, you know, it is Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, Oshie, and they're not super expensive because Kuznetsov is 3,600. But, you know, in 1 to 3 or a limited amount of lineups, I'm probably going to be off Washington 1. It's a low total, terrible matchup. It is a 4-game slate, so I mean, it's hard to just completely X out fully correlated lines. It's something that you want to, you know, keep in your back pocket, especially if you're making a ton of lineups. But, you know, in a limited amount of lineups, I'm off Washington 1. Washington 2 is kind of interesting. You know, they're kind of priced okay. You get Backstrom on the top power play. You have Mantha and Wilson on the, you know, second power play. They're going to get, you know, the Bruins second line, which has been way better since Taylor Hall has come over. So, I mean, if I was going to go to a line on the Capitals, it would be that second line for the Caps. It's still not a huge, you know, favorite of mine. I probably, you know, in 20 max, I'd probably have 1 or 2 of them. You get over the field just with that. You know, Boston being at home with the Hall trade, their depth has gotten so much better. It's stabilized them. So, I mean, ideally, if this was a larger slate, like 6-7 games, I'd just X the Capitals off. But because this is a short slate, you know, I think you can consider the top 6 if you are building, you know, minimum 20. The more you go, the more likely you can put in Washington. On the Boston side, you know, I love Boston 1 again tonight. They haven't been, you know, we haven't had a Boston 1 or log out game yet, but like the goalies are a mess for the Capitals. They're, you know, they've had injuries, they've had, you know, COVID stuff, they've mixed matching the lines. Boston's coming in under 20%, fully correlated. You know, they're 21-4. They've been at 24-5 at points this season. So, you know, the same from the couple other shows, I love Boston 1. I love them again, especially for the price and GPPs. They're an elite line, so I'd full stack them. So I like Boston 1. Boston 2 is a bit over-owned for my liking, but I think you can, one-off Taylor Hall here. You can two-man him with Craig Smith. I don't think you need a full stack. If you want to include Krejci, for the top power play, I think that's fine. But, Boston 1 for me. I like Boston 2 a little bit. Boston 3 is a decent filler. I think, Richie Coyle, DeBrusque, they're super cheap. Let you get in the Colorados, the Edmontons, if you're going to do something with that. Like if you're going to power play stack the Avs or do something with the, get McDavid and Draisaitl. And I don't think you have to full stack. You can take pieces from that line, but they're super cheap. And it's an okay matchup. So I think you can take some pieces from there as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've seen basically the same slate on Wednesday. So I'm pretty much, regurgitating that info, but glad to hear you're on the same page. I think it's a Boston game for me. You mentioned the ownership on Boston 2 being a little bit high. I mean, I'm okay with it just because, they're probably going to be a pretty popular filler, especially Craig Smith coming off that big game and just 3,900. I don't know what's going on with his price. I think he's had 2 big games in this series, actually. Hall 5,300. I mean, that's kind of a joke. So they do probably get the tougher matchup, but they're going to see some of Washington 2 and Washington 3, and maybe even the fourth line. But yeah, they've just been playing so well since you mentioned Hall has come over there. So I think I'm going to have the most Boston 2. Nothing against Boston 1, never anything against them. In fact, I think they probably end up running over Ovi, Oshie, and Kuznetsov. Should that line stick, pretty poor defensive numbers for that line this season in, 106 minutes, 108 minute sample for them. So, I think Boston 1 has a good matchup. It's just they're not quite at the Edmonton 1 level for me. And then we've also got who's the other? Oh, Colorado. Yeah, duh. McKinnon's going to probably get his 3-point bonus. McDavid's probably going to get his 3-point bonus. And they're not quite at that level for me. So it could easily be a log out night if you're underweight or you fade Boston 1. I will end up with some. I've basically been on these 3 and 4 game slates. I like it because my night's never completely done right away should the first big line go nuts. It leaves me some late swap opportunities. I mean, if you haven't been at least looking at late swaps, I think you're losing out on some potential edge because of the way these games are staggered. You've got a lot of information on most of the slate. The slate's going to be pretty much halfway done by the time you get to Winnipeg and Edmonton. Then you can see if you need to do any swaps. So I'm going to have certainly some of Boston 1. I don't know if I'll get to the field. I think I'm probably going to be over the field on Boston 2. I've just been hammering this line. And I think if you want to, I know he's on power play 1, but you can just go Hall and Craig Smith. Because if that line is a big game, Krejci could easily have under 5 DK points. I think he might have gotten an assist late last game on the power play. But I think Hall and Craig Smith are the ones you want. So 2-manning those guys, leaving off Krejci, I like to do quite a bit in my 3-2-1s tonight. What about the blue line? Anyone sticking out to you?
Charlie McAvoy's price hasn't moved. He's on the top power play if you want to correlate with Boston 1. Boston 2, you can, if you want to put in Grizzlick for the power play 2. Not super high on it at 4,600. I prefer to punt with Mike Riley. And then on the Washington side, outside of correlating with Carlson in MME, one guy I would consider using, Brendan Dillon, 2,700. He's played over 20 minutes every game in this series. I think he's a viable punt.
Yeah, I buried the lead, as Cliffy says. Clock chat is back, baby. Yeah, this beautiful clock making its return. Didn't know it was going to return today, but staying at my parents' house for the next few days. And I had to get a show with the clock in here. So things worked out for the best for everyone. All right, let's move it on to the next game. We have the Carolina Hurricanes and the Nashville Predators, 2.9 implied total for the Canes. 2.3 for the Preds. Nedeljkovic, who's been playing amazing, probably going to start for the Canes. I'm not seeing him confirmed just yet, but he's going to start. And then UC Saros going for the Preds. He's also played pretty well. So no knock against him. His team just can't score goals on Nedeljkovic. And another low total for the Preds. But you're seeing some ownership on this top line for Nashville. And actually higher owned than the Carolina 1 line. So if you're looking at the top stacks tool, and you could only have one, you're probably going to want to gravitate towards Carolina 1. But what are you seeing from a matchups perspective in this one, Josh?
I'm not sure because Victor Arvidsson hasn't played in a month. So, and this is the first time they've been at home. So I'm not 100% positive how they're going to match. But I would imagine, because when Carolina was at home, they were sending out the Stahl-Fogel-Fast line against Washington or against Nashville 1. And that line isn't great. So, Johansson, Forsberg, Arvidsson's going out against Aho or even Trocheck. That's a worse matchup than it was when they were in Carolina. So, if Nashville 1's going to be 12, 13%, I think I'm just going to fade them. They're cheap and they're on the power play and they're at home. So, they might get that home bump a little bit here, but I don't know. At that ownership and how Nedeljkovic has played so far this series, it's a fade for me. If you want to have a little bit in GPPs, I'm not going to tell you not to do it. It's the only viable line really that you can full stack on Nashville. As you go down the lineup, if you want to do a 2-man of Tolvanen and Granlund, for a filler, I think that's okay. Same with Hall and Duchesne. I think, I prefer Hall and Duchesne a little bit. They may get a tad better matchup. They're cheaper. Duchesne has actually played decent in this series. He's 3,000. That is 5,900 for the two of them. Let you do some stuff. Colorado, Edmonton. If you want a full stack Nashville 1, that's your preference. I'm probably not in 1 to 3 or even 20. If I was doing 20, I'd probably have 1. The more lineups I had, maybe, I'd have a handful more. But for the most part, even though they're at home, I'm probably going to be off the Preds tonight. I'm not super enthusiastic about the Hurricanes here either. Saros has played well. I'm not sure. Yeah, Ellis is still in. So, their penalty, I know it seems like Carolina's had struggles scoring too. Their mantra, come for the expected goal, stay for the no goals. But this is the lowest total. It's a 5.5 total. They're, if I was going to go to line, it would be that Trocheck, Netchus, Niederreiter line. I've been on them all season. Their ownership is lower than the top line. They're going to get a decent matchup. So I think you can go to them. I would avoid, power play stacking the Canes. As long as Ellis is in, he's made that penalty kill so much better. So I'm off on the power play stacks, but I think you can go to the top line, you can go to the second line. I prefer the second line just based off ownership. If you want to, get a piece of Jordan Stahl for the power play, that's fine. If you want to one off Jordan Stahl, but I prefer to be on the top 6.
Boy.
I'm just looking for stuff here. I'm probably going to be underweighted this game as a whole. At least from a skater's standpoint, I'll probably, be on the goalies and I'll be on the defensemen, but not a huge fan of either team in GPPs.
Yeah, I think this one's probably going to have the lowest total ownership of the games just because Carolina's on the road. We like playing home teams. I love playing home teams, even bad teams. Even when we had the Red Wings and the Senators and all these Vancouver Canucks, oh man, they cost me a lot. And the Preds are obviously better than them. So, I'm not crossing off Nashville 1, but I'm in agreement with you. And especially Ryan Johansson, you could just leave him off and go Arvidsson, Forsberg, 2-man. He's one of those. What's that?
I'd rather play Wenberg than Rajo.
I think I would too. And Wenberg's around the same price. They're pricing Ryan Johansson correctly. He's been up over 5K at times over the last couple of years, which is, awful. He just doesn't shoot at all. So he's a distributor. If you miss out on the 2 assist game, and he gets 11 points, 11.3, gets 2 assists and a block, I mean, you're not really kicking yourself if you leave him off because Forsberg and Arvidsson are the goal scorers there. And I really want to attack this Nashville second line. Granlund and Connor together have been just brutal at 5-on-5 defensively. That is, they've been okay offensively, but going into the Trocheck line, I think that is a pretty good spot for Carolina too. And then this is a weird one on Carolina 1 for me because I play MME, but I also usually play a few lineups in the 153 max they have it or the 333. And I think I want to have a higher stakes lineup with Carolina 1 because when people have 1 to 3 lineups, they're going to go there's 3 other spots people are going to go to over Carolina 1, and Carolina 1 is no slouch. They are a really awesome line, so I think they might get squeezed out in the higher stakes and the single entry stuff because people want their McDavid one-offs, they want their McKinnon one-offs, they want Boston won. And so I'm looking at them for like a higher stakes lineup, even though I don't think I'm going to get to the field on them in this spot. They don't project all that well. And by the way, projections are free today for NHL. If you guys want to go check those out on the site, they are unlocked for anyone to look at as a part of our free premium content promo that we've got going on every single day. Anything else in this game you want to talk about?
Cliffy says, assuming Jarnkrok, Granlund, Kunin are a thing, they'll likely get Carolina 1.
Carolina 1?
Yeah, he said they were the home matchup the last few games heading to the playoffs when they were fully healthy. So,
okay. Well, as the information changes, I guess you got to change your opinion. Maybe Carolina 1 is the spot then.
Yeah, I mean, Cliffy would know better than me. So
for sure, yeah.
That would bring Carolina 1 to play for me a bit more. As long as the ownership stays around 9, 10, 11%, I think it's completely fine in GPP.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Like, I don't think it's a bad spot for them. I think just, when you make lineups with an optimizer, it's trying to jam in as much value as possible. And, there are some cheap lines tonight. We mentioned Boston 2 already. Washington 2 is pretty cheap as well if you're looking for fillers. Even stuff on the Nashville side, like Nashville 2 is cheap. They're going to get slammed in some lineups if you're just building with an optimizer. I even like Haula and Duchesne a little bit as a really cheap 2-man if you're trying to get in those super expensive stacks. So I think like a mid-tier line like Carolina 1 tonight might end up being a little bit lower owned than it should be. So I'm definitely interested, especially if we think that Nashville 2 is going to get that line for most of the game. That makes it even better. What about defenseman? Dougie, 6,400, but getting super highly owned. You got Yossi on the other side, very highly owned as well, over 20% for both guys. What about Alexander Carrier? 2,900 on a pairing with Yossi. Seems like he's a pretty good candidate to get 20-plus minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind him as a punt. Ryan Ellis, Matthias Ekholm are, cheap. Ellis, especially 4,800, he gets the penalty kill time. He gets over 20 minutes. He doesn't need to score to, pay off his price. I don't mind him. Yossi under 6,000 seems really cheap. He also doesn't need – he had 8 shots on goal last game. I think that continues. Yeah, I mean, I like Yossi under 6,000 more than I like Dougie at his price, even though, Dougie has a better chance to win, but I don't know if that changes him that much. Like maybe he gets an assist, maybe he scores a goal, but like Yossi could score a goal, he could get an assist. I'd rather take the savings there. Brady Shea is a game time decision, I think, or is it Slavin's the game time decision? If Slavin's in, I like Brett Pesce at 3,900. Slavin out, Brady Shea up on the top pair with Hamilton at 3,500, definitely in play.
Yeah, Shea for sure. Same thing as Carrier, just cheap, playing with their top defenseman, probably going to see around 20 minutes if he goes. And then Jake Bean, like his minutes have just been way down. I know he gets the secondary power play time, but I'm going to try to not fall for that trap tonight.
Yeah. So Carolina took 7 penalties. They're on the penalty kill 7 times. So like Jake Bean never saw the ice. Dougie Hamilton was catching up on minutes because he's not on the penalty kill. Like guys like Pesce and Brady Shea played insane minutes because Carolina couldn't stay out of the penalty box.
Yeah. I think they've had trouble with that all season too, just taking a bunch of penalties. Speaking of teams that take a bunch of penalties, by the way, did you see the Ice Cats last night? Big comeback win for the Panthers. Wow, Tampa. I thought Tampa was sweeping there going into that third period. They brought in Bobrovsky. Man, the play has been awesome this season. I really want Florida to win that series. I know it's a long shot to win 4 out of 5 against Tampa, but
Ryan Lumberg with the game-winning goal. That dude looks like a jobber in WWE about to go out and get like stunned by Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, I love that guy. He's got a great look, and he's always mixing it up, and not a lot of the dirty stuff like some of the other guys. Maybe on this slate, we've got Tom Wilson, who likes to mix it up and cross the line. Kadri not going to be playing. Did they come down with a suspension? I've been out a lot of the morning.
I would imagine he got suspended. He has quite the history. I didn't see any confirmation, but I saw people in chat saying he got suspended. So
okay, yeah. Someone in chat, let us know if there was a decision on that. I have to assume he's probably done for the rest of the series. If it was a dirty hit. So
first round Kadri is always done for the series.
Yeah. I mean, you just
that
get
dude
2
hasn't made it
games.
out of the first round without getting suspended ever.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. And they had the game in control too. It's just unnecessary stuff. Let's go to the Jets and the Oilers. 2.5 implied total for the Jets, 3.1 for the Oilers. Hellebuck and Mike Smith are your expected goalies. Winnipeg is up 1-0 in this series. Oilers dropped the first one at home. Not that there's a lot of home ice advantage with these Canadian teams because, there's no one in the crowd. Saw some teams being rejuvenated. It's weird to see a bunch of fans back in the stadiums, but it makes for a better TV viewing experience. I forgot how fun it is, even watching games. I can't imagine how fun it would be to go to some of these.
And the UFC pay-per-views have full capacity crowds. It's crazy. Like, I like the fights with no fans. It was fun. But then I forgot how awesome it was with the fans. Like,
it's so good. It's so much better. So things slowly getting back to normal. I've got my spiel on the Jets. I can't believe this ownership right now. I mean, we're showing 30+% ownership on Winnipeg 1. Just throwing it out there, I think that's quite a bit high. I think, it's probably going to be closer to half because right now we've got McDavid and Draisaitl really low owned. And I think just because of the way that the ownership projections are made, when you've got like plug line mates like Kyler Yamamoto and Cahoon, it brings down the total ownership. So we'll get that fixed, or at least closer to where we think that it's going to be. Because I don't think Winnipeg 1's going to be 30+%. I think they're probably going to be, under 20, maybe mid-teens, high teens, somewhere in there. What are your thoughts on Winnipeg here and, maybe the Winnipeg team overall? I can't talk about them. They're the worst.
Does any line run more pure on the empty net than Winnipeg 1? It's insane. They get there every time the net's empty. They won the game, but they got ran over. If you look at the numbers, they got run over by the Oilers. So, I'm going right back to the Oilers here. You look at the Corsi numbers from that game, like the chances, the Oilers was taking it to them. If they start finishing those, it's gonna be brutal. So I'm back on the Oilers here. The lines is I've heard some chatter that they might put McDavid back with Draisaitl. I haven't seen anything about that. But the thing is, you could play McDavid with Draisaitl anyway for the power play. You can build lineups with McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins for power play 1, and then you see they're not together, and you can make a decision there. But if you're thinking they're going to be together, I think you can build with them together. And then if they're not and you're uncomfortable about keeping them together, you can always swap to, Colorado or something like that. But I think you can start with them together and go from there. But yeah, Edmonton 1 is fine. I think that ownership is way too low. That's definitely going to come up. McDavid will always get his 15-20%. He could be playing against a brick wall and he'd still be 20% owned on a 4-game slate. So McDavid's going to come up, but I think, having some of at least one of the line mates on that top line, assuming it's Cahoon and Puljujarvi, is probably the best idea. One-offing McDavid doesn't really get you anywhere, especially if he goes off. You would hope one of his line mates come with him. I probably prefer Puljujarvi, but if you need the salary, Dominic Cahoon is okay. If you want a power play stack, perfectly fine as well. Because especially in GPPs, because people don't like to plug up their salary in 2 expensive centers on the same team on different lines. So, that's 17-2 for McDavid and Draisaitl in 2 center spots. I think that's a way to get a bit different. I'm not going to say it's going to be unique because people are going to do it, but it's a way to get a bit different. You can do McDavid, Draisaitl, Neil, something like that. He's 2,600. If we're touting Chiasson when he's on power play 1, I think you got to tout James Neal. If you took their names away and just looked at the stats, they're probably the same person.
Yeah.
So I think you can go Edmonton 1 full stack if you want, Edmonton 2 full stack if you want, power play stack if you want. I would just, if you're concerned that McDavid and Draisaitl are going to be together, just build with them together. And then on the Winnipeg side, if they're anywhere near 30%, I want nothing to do with them. I would imagine that's wrong. If they're coming in at 15-20%, I'm still probably going to fade. I'd have 1 or 2 in 112, 1, 2, or 3, something like that, just because they're fully correlated. It's a short slate. They won last game, so I mean, it's mostly a FOMO play. if they're winning, they'll get there on the empty net. It's just what they do. So I think you can have some and then going down the lineup, I want to get behind some of these, second or third lines, because I'm not a big believer in the depth of the Oilers, but it's just nothing there that I really like. Even Winnipeg 3 fully correlated on power play 2, whatever that means, they're coming in at 12% too. I imagine that comes down as well, but if they're above 5%, I just don't want anything to do with it. So I'm probably going to be out on the Jets tonight.
Yeah. I think I'm mostly going to be out on the Jets. Like you said, there's always that FOMO, especially when you've got a bunch of lineups. You don't want to just completely fade a team, especially if it's a team that's going to get any sort of ownership on a shorter slate. You could see the case where they get a full line goal and then they get the empty netter or someone gets the 3-point bonus, and then you're completely done. So I never have zero of a team, or I try not to ever have zero lineups of a team that's getting a lot of ownership. But if Winnipeg 1's getting anywhere near 15, 20, there's no way I'm going to be overweight on them. I would be closer to 0 than 20% on them if they were in that range of 15 to 20%. And then on the Edmonton side, it is an Edmonton game for me. I'm all over them. I think maybe Hellebuck does it again. It's possible. It's the playoffs. You see these guys go on these epic tears, these goaltenders. But the volume he's going to see is going to be high danger volume. It's not what Vegas is doing against Talbot, where it's just shots from the point, and the goalie just racks up a ton of saves because their defensemen were aggressive. You're shooting from low danger spots. When McDavid scores, it's high danger chances. When Draisaitl scores, it's closer to the net. How often, if they're going to generate 25, 30 shot attempts, it's just not going to work out for Winnipeg, I don't think. It might work out in a short series, but I don't really, I'm betting against that. So all over Edmonton 1, Edmonton 2. I think you can full stack Edmonton 2 because at least you get the power play with Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins. Yamamoto, God, he's a candidate for the most empty minutes. I think he had 16 minutes, closer to 17 in the last game, and he had one shot attempt. He just doesn't do anything. Cahoon, same type of thing. So what you could do is just put a bunch of these Edmonton skaters that you want in FC, just change their line assignments to all the same line, and then maybe group out you could only have one of Yamamoto, Cahoon, and Puljujarvi, so that you're at least getting two guys, McDavid. You're getting a 2-man that's at 5-on-5, plus you're getting two guys on the top power play as well. If that makes sense. So McDavid's your anchor. You want him in as many Edmonton lineups as possible. I don't know that I'd be looking to play Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, and or just a Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins 2-man, and feel foolish to not have McDavid in that lineup if they go nuts. But it could happen, I suppose. But yeah, Edmonton 1, I think it's going to be my highest owned stack of the night to kind of put a bow on that one. Tyson Barrie going to be in a lot of my Edmonton 1 stacks. And I want to get some Nurse as well. He's not on the top power play, but I think he did play a little bit on the top power play in the last game, I want to say. But it's just an even strength thing.
Nurse played 28 minutes.
Yeah.
So he's playing half the game. So Nurse is someone I'd rather one off than Barrie anyway. So if you're getting to some lineups that you don't have Edmonton stack, I think Nurse is a fine one off. Barrie, obviously, if you're doing anything with the power play. That second pair even isn't too bad. Larson 3,100, Dmitry Kulikov min price. They're seeing some minutes. I don't mind them as punts. On the Winnipeg side, I think Neil Pionk is a good play. Then you can punt the guys like Dylan DeMello, Derek Forbort. And if your whistles go woo, you can, go all in on Logan Stanley again and ship. So
God. The Logan Stanley one-off. I mean, it worked out.
In the utility spot.
Yeah, the util Logan Stanley, $2,500 defenseman. I think he's going out of his way to play 3 defensemen.
I was talking about it with Cliffy, not about whistles go woo, but as a playoff strategy to get 3 defensemen in, because these guys are blocking more shots. If they go to overtime, these guys, the skaters are gonna be tired. They're shooting into a lot of skates and stuff. So these guys who block shots, especially if the game goes to overtime, they have a much higher floor and a higher ceiling because there's no shootout anymore. It can go 40, 60, 80 minutes after regulation.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Maybe I should put some more thought into that. But yeah, it's an Edmonton one night for me. I'm going to be light on a lot of Jets here, and we'll get that ownership fixed throughout the day. Let's get to the last game on the slate, the Avalanche and the Blues. 3.4 implied total for the Avs, 2.2 for the Blues. 9:30 p.m. Eastern lock time. So, maybe some late swap opportunities if you're chasing and you need, and you got Colorado 1 and you feel like you don't have the nuts, maybe swap over to some St. Louis 1. But it's not going to feel comfortable. I mean, McKinnon's got 7 points in the first 2 games of the series. He's just the best. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about this Avalanche team. They're going to wipe the floor with them, whether it's in 4 games or 5 games. Maybe St. Louis gets this one. Binnington's probably a good play at 7,300. Even though he stinks, he's going to see 40-plus shots likely. And if they win the game, he's a heavy favorite to be the highest scoring goalie on the slate. So I will say that. A couple defensemen out. Maybe Binnington's going to see even more shots than he usually has. Bortuzzo and Justin Falk are out. Vince Dunn potentially in tonight. So there you go. We don't have a ton of clarity on this one as I lose my camera. Let's see if I can get this back. But Josh, what do you have in this one?
Yeah, so with Falk and Bortuzzo out, Dunn, he was on the ice after practice, so he's probably out as well. The potential D pairs for the Blues tonight are going to be Krug, Parayko, Scandella, Santini, and then Mikkola, Ranky. I don't even know who Ranky is. This is not something that you really want to have going against the Avs in the playoffs. If you're on the Avs before, you're still going to be on the Avs here. Kadri, I believe, is suspended. Jake is back. The clock is back. Kadri out. I would imagine Yost moves up. Maybe Newhook moves up. If it's Newhook in between Donskoy and Burakovsky, I'm a Newhook guy. So
I'm also.
Yeah. So like Min Price, he's a wing on DK. So that would make either the second or the third line like 3 wing, but I don't think that's going to be a huge problem, especially because Newhook's Min Price. And if you're doing like a double center with Draisaitl and McDavid, you're going to need an extra winger anyway. So if Newhook moves up, I think, you can use any of the top 3 lines for Colorado tonight. Blues are at home now. I haven't seen an update on Perron, but even if he's in and it's Shen, O'Reilly, Perron, I still have no issues going to Colorado 1 here. McKinnon's an absolute animal. He's matchup proof. Colorado 1 is one of my favorite spots of the night. I want to see lines for sure, like what they're going to be, but I like Donskoy again tonight. I like that third line again tonight. Valeri Nichushkin at 3,200 is a good one-off for me. I mean, he's been shooting the puck more. If Newhook's moving up into the top 6, he's in play for me. So I love the Avs tonight. It's just a preference of what you want to do with them. I think all top 3 lines are in play. On the Blues side, it's just really tough for me to get behind anything on the Blues right now. The O'Reilly line's going to get the McKinnon line, which kind of takes me out on them. I guess, I have to see what these second and third lines look like. So if Newhook centering the second line, I think maybe you can have some Schwartz and Tarasenko, something like that. If there's going to be a line where you can take advantage of, it's a rookie and Alex Newhook. So I think, Schwartz, Tarasenko, and MME. If you want to include Bozak, that's fine. But you see their ownership, it's 12, 13%. It's a bit worrisome for me. Again, I've said it every game, the Blues have played in the postseason. For me, if I was going to do something on the Blues, it'd be a Mike Hoffman one-off. If you want to include him with, Rob Thomas, I think that's fine. But really for me, I'm going to be underweight to the field on the Blues probably until they're eliminated.
Yeah, which will probably be 2 nights from now, if I had to guess. This Avs team is a juggernaut. We want to see lines. We don't have a ton of line information on this one just yet. And assuming Kadri can't go, I haven't seen anything in chat about a suspension being handed down. But assuming he's out for at least this game, it's going to shake things up. You mentioned Newhook. If he goes up with Donskoy and Burakovsky. You know, they switch around Donskoy, Burakovsky, Saad, Nishushkin, whatever like the formations are here. I'm interested in both Colorado 2 and 3, and then obviously 1. I will say Colorado 1 is my second favorite play tonight. Not first, just because they're on the road. They're going to see a lot of Ryan O'Reilly, a guy that I respect. Whereas I think Edmonton's just going to have a little bit less resistance tonight. So Colorado 1 right up there as the best play on the slate, going to get some ownership. You know, McKinnon's only shot like 9% this season. So he actually kind of ran bad. Like, he's going to be higher than a 10% career shooter, right? Maybe I was just looking at some stuff, and I saw he shot like, it was like 9.5, 9.6% this season.
That's low for him. I'm pretty like,
but Rantanen shot like 16%. So
there could be more positive regression for McKinnon.
Yeah, just crazy. Maybe he's going to get it all in the playoffs. So far, he's done okay. I think he's got 4 goals in 2 games. Had a hattie 2 nights ago. Probably will have a couple more in there at some point during these playoffs. Looks like it's going to be a pretty deep run for this Avs team. I saw Shen, Schwartz, and Tarasenko played some together in the last game. Looks like some of the lineup sites are speculating that they're going to be together. It would make some sense. You know, you got O'Reilly, Kyrou, big top line with Barbashev, I'm seeing right now, but not a whole lot of interest in the Blues outside of just some late swap. You know, if you've got a line with a bunch of Colorado 1 lineups and you want to diversify, like let's say Boston 2 goes off and you've got all your Boston 2 or a bunch of your Boston 2 with Colorado 1. If you wanted to diversify 1 or 2 of those lineups and switch them from Colorado 1 to St. Louis power play stack or something along those lines, I think that is a pretty good idea just from a like range of outcomes strategy. So that's something I'll be looking to do. Hopefully, if you're in that good of a spot. I knew Nihas was going to just come in.
He's completely wrong. Like he's just going to full send.
I'm not touting the Blues. I'm touting just being a smart DFS player, or at least trying to. So
Awesemo support email is going to get like 38 emails.
Yeah,
from saying Jake
told me to play the Blues. Yeah, you know, you can play some of the Blues. I'm playing 112 lineups tonight. Yes, I'm going to have some Blues in my lineup. A lot of Parayko, I would guess. Pretty good spot for him to block some shots. 4,200. He's not on the power play, but you can play him, I think, with either of the top 2 lines, whatever they end up being for the Blues, or just by himself. Going to see 20-plus minutes, especially with these injuries. And then Vince Dunn, if you would like to get a one-off there. Might be a night where if he does slide in, he sees 20-plus minutes, which is always the question with Mr. Dunn. Anything else here or on this slate?
Defenseman for Colorado, I think you can play Makar, Taves, Graves, Girard. Like any of the top 4 are viable. Just depends what you're doing with them. You can correlate with them. Taves is a good one-off. Girard, Graves, good one-off. Makar makes the most sense if you're doing anything with the power play.
All right. I think I agree with you there. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us today. It was nice to do a show with Josh and for Tyler to troll me during the show. Camera only went out 1 time. So I think the over-under before we started the show was 4.5. So unders got paid for today. A bunch of you guys.
I put a bet down on you turning green at plus 800, so I lost that one.
That sounds like pretty good value. Had a lot of camera issues. There was some scheduling miscommunication on my part. So thanks for watching, or if you're watching afterwards, feel free to throw us a like, subscribe to the channel. Hat trick pick. I almost forgot. Hat trick pick. Who you got? No McKinnon, no McDavid.
No McKinnon, no McDavid.
Yeah.
Man, I had Donskoy last time, and he almost did it for me. I'm going to go way off the board here. I'm going to say Darnell Nurse.
Whoa. That might be the first defenseman pick. All right. Now I feel like I have to get a little bit weird, but I'm not going to get too weird. Do you ever listen to Bill Burr's podcast at all? Yeah, just like, you know, he's got like the Boston accent.
Yeah.
Taylor Hall. I'm going to pick Taylor Hall. I love when he says Taylor Hall's name. And now since he's a Bruins fan, he's always talking about Taylor Hall. But yeah, Tyler says he listens to Bill Burr to go to bed. I don't know if he wanted me to read that on stream, but he just sent it in the Zoom chat. So there you go. Tyler listens to Bill Burr. How can you fall asleep with that? I don't even know. Yeah, wow. 3-hour compilations of Bill Burr just yelling at you while you're trying to sleep. I listen to podcasts while I'm going to sleep.
Bill Burr, when he's on Conan, is the funniest compilation of stuff. You got to watch those.
I just love that guy. Yeah, he's the best. So, we're not sponsored by Bill Burr's podcast, but if you want to go listen, I mean, we can try. We're still waiting to hear back from White Claw. Yeah.
I have some promo videos ready. I got some spicy pictures for White Claw.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to start releasing them over the summer when I get a little.
All right, well,
I'm not
White Claw, we're waiting for you. Jock Market is the actual sponsor of the show. Jock Market, we love Jock Market. Awesemo 50 is how you get a $50 bonus on your first deposit. Go support Jock Market. Go drink your claws. Go listen to whatever podcast you'd like to listen to this weekend. Thank you once again, and we will see you guys soon.